So it's over a year since our last Digital Trust Forum at the start of 2020, where we had the conference in person, and lots has happened since then. We've made some really good progress. For example, with the gold standard, we've added lots of certified companies. We've added compliance with the TCF as one of the criteria, and that addresses privacy concerns. And we've also had some great new advertiser supporters, including companies like Unilever and Vodafone. If you look at it kind of internationally as well, there have been really good efforts to make things a bit simpler. So the merger of TAG and JIC means that we now have more uniform standards when it comes to important things like brand safety and ad fraud. And also PwC published their report into the programmatic supply chain on behalf of ISBA and the AOP. And off the back of that, we formed an industry task force to look at issues like standardizing data so it makes it easier to track an impression all the way through the supply chain. So some good progress has been made, but actually AA research shows that public trust in advertising is still declining. And the really interesting thing is that this is against a backdrop of spend in digital advertising increasing. And it kind of begs the question, how long can spend keep increasing if trust is declining? I mean, one way to find out would be to do nothing and then to see when the lack of trust actually impacts on ad spend. But I think a better thing to do is to keep addressing the things that consumers worry about. So they don't like seeing annoying ads and they don't like their data being used in the wrong way. But actually people are only kind of half of the issue. And the other pressing issue that we have is the trust that policymakers and regulators put in digital advertising. And it's fair to say, when we think about that, it's also been a really busy time. So firstly, thinking about the ICO. So they published their initial report in June 2019, actually before the last time we had this conference. And then we responded to that in December 2019 with a list of actions that we committed to in 6 key areas that would address the concerns that the ICO had. And during 2020, we've been busy getting on with those, working closely with the ICO. And again, we're making good progress. There's some work still to do in areas like special category data, but we are making good progress in that space. One of the things that the pandemic did, though, was it caused the ICO to pause their work in the ad tech space for 6 months or so. And actually now they're resuming their work, but it's taken a very different approach. They're now moved into an audit phase where they're forensically examining what companies are doing with people's data. And it's worth remembering the range of sanctions that they've got, including really big fines if they do find out that people are using data in a non-GDPR compliant way. Another big thing that's happened is in the area of high fat, sugar and salty foods, HFSS. So what the government is proposing to do is a complete ban on HFSS advertising online. And that's in the face of evidence that shows it won't have a massive positive effect in terms of reducing obesity, for example. And actually it will damage a lot of online businesses. And I think the main thing about that is it's just a really useful way to understand the attitude that government and regulators currently have to digital advertising. On top of that, we've got the activity of the Competition and Markets Authority and the formation of the DMU, the Digital Markets Unit, which the government describes as a tough new regulator and a major milestone for online market reform, hoping that it will give consumers more choice and control over their data. On top of that, we've got stuff like the DCMS review into online advertising, which is ongoing, and we're expecting proposals in the autumn of this year. And also the online safety bill, and we're expecting a draft bill to come before Parliament in autumn 2021. So as you can see, if we think about government and regulation as well as consumers, there's still a whole load of stuff going on in the trust space. And yes, we have made good progress throughout the industry when it comes to improving trust. But I'd strongly say that now isn't the time to ease off on our trust activities. There's still a whole load of work to do, whether it comes to regulators or whether it comes to consumers. And it's only by collaborating and committing to tackle these issues together that we're going to improve trust in digital advertising.